Right. So why people even talk like he the best at? He didn't even fight at 135 yet.
Right.
He didn't even have power at 126, 30 or none of that.
He is good.
Okay. How can you? All that's just okay.
Think when's that fight between him and Teofimo Lopez if they fight?
If they fight, I think Shakur wins. I think Shakur wins.
This reason, Teofimo Lopez, we've seen him at his best, but he typically brings out his best characteristics when he's back against the wall and he's counted out. And he's going to be counted out in this fight. By and large, people are going to side with Shakur in this fight to win the fight because he's the more consistent fighter. He's the more class fighter.
Boxing pros can't seem to agree on what happens when Shakur Stevenson faces off against Teofimo Lopez. Gervonta Davis didn't hold back his thoughts on Stevenson, basically asking why everyone's treating him like he's already proven everything. Davis thinks all the hype means absolutely nothing until you've been tested and taken some damage against the absolute best fighters out there.
Some of your 135 contemporaries have a lot to say these days. Shakur Stevenson, well, of course, he's now at 135 after all that stuff, and then Devin Haney.
Right. So why people even talk like he the best at? He didn't even fight at 135 yet.
Right.
He didn't even have power at 126, 30 or none of that.
He is good.
Okay. How can you? All that's just okay. How can you stop people that can actually hit? No matter all that boxing, you're going to get hit.
When you take a hit, what's your next move? That's exactly what Paulie Malignaggi and Chris Algieri were breaking down about this upcoming battle. Paulie made an interesting point about how Lopez always seems to get the short end of the stick in public opinion. The reason is pretty simple. Stevenson's got way more buzz, social media followers, and mainstream attention. Most fans automatically assume Stevenson's the favorite going in. But here's what Paulie really believes. Once those lights come on and the bell rings, all that outside noise disappears completely. This could be Lopez's defining moment to step up and show everyone what he's really made of. Paulie's convinced that Lopez is going to use this stage to prove he belongs with the elite, and maybe even shut down Stevenson for good.
With this situation, because Teofimo is at his most dangerous when he's counted out. And this is going to be one of those fights where he's going to be counted out. Because Shakur is looked at by and large as the guy who can dominate boxing in this generation, right? It's just a matter of him getting the opportunity. I myself have felt that he's the guy who could and should be dominating boxing if he gets the right matchups. But bro, this is one of the rare matchups, if not maybe the only matchup, where I feel like is a big threat here to Shakur. And then they would all come undone only because of this reason. Teofimo Lopez, we've seen him at his best, but he typically brings out his best characteristics when he's back against the wall and he's counted out. And he's going to be counted out in this fight. By and large, people are going to side with Shakur in this fight to win the fight because he's the more consistent fighter, he's the more class fighter overall, and he's just so damn good. But Teofimo has a way, when you're so damn good and he knows you're so damn good and everybody feels like you're going to beat him, there's just something about Teofimo, man. He brings out a different level and somehow supersedes that guy who is that damn good. I've seen it. We've seen it already. I'm not saying anything that anybody else hasn't already seen, okay? I'm just stipulating it. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know who wins this fight. Because again, your better head says Shakur, but then you think about, man, Teofimo. Again,
he's got the X factor.
What I just explained.
He's got the talent to
I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
Shakur is extremely talented and could be the face of boxing as far as being that good and being that dominant, even though no matter how good you are. But this is one of the rare fights where you can get beat. And I don't ever want to hear any of you tank nut huggers that he fights one Uber driver after another. If Shakur Stevenson loses this fight, I don't ever want to hear any of you saying, oh, what about Shakur now? Tank this, tank that. Tank fights the guy that delivers my pizza. He fights the guys in the back that are doing the production. He fights the truck driver. I don't want to hear, because he would never have gone near Teofimo Lopez.
Lamont Roach sees this whole thing playing out completely differently. He's betting on Stevenson to take total control from the very first round. Roach thinks this won't be some wild back-and-forth slugfest, but more like watching a masterclass in boxing fundamentals. In his mind, Stevenson's the type who sets the tempo immediately and forces his opponent to fight at a rhythm that just doesn't work for them. If these two actually step in there together, Roach believes Stevenson's ring IQ and ability to solve problems will completely shut down whatever Lopez tries to bring. He's predicting it becomes less of a fight and more of a clinic, where Stevenson's technical skills make it impossible for Lopez to get anything going consistently. The way Roach sees it, Lopez would spend the entire night chasing opportunities that just never materialize.
But and doing that, and so I was always going to fight this year. He knew that too. I was always going to fight this year. It was going to be either like a tune-up or something before I fought him, if we were to get that together.
So who do you think wins that fight between him and Teofimo Lopez if they fight?
If they fight, I think Shakur wins. I think Shakur wins. And I don't think it's going to be like a super tough fight either. I think he just, his IQ will frustrate him. And
wow. Don't you think Teo has also good ring IQ and also is slick, fast?
I think
explosive?
so. But when you look at Teo's performances against guys that are just pure boxers, it's just like he almost lost to Sandor Martin. Some people thought he lost to Sandor Martin. Who else?
He did beat Loma, who's arguably at the time considered one of the best in the world.
He did, and that was a hell of a performance too. A hell of a performance too. So yeah, I mean, I think he's hit or miss. You got to think he got stuff. He a little cuckoo too. Like he has like a little mental lapses every once in a while. Look at the Kambosos fight. Like that's a fight that people would never expect Kambosos to win, and he won a grueling match against him as well. So I just I don't know. I don't think he can get it done against Shakur when it comes to like because it's going to be just a skill match. I don't think he's going to try to rough Shakur up, and it's probably not going to work.
Roy Jones Jr. is looking at this through the lens of mental preparation and staying sharp throughout. He's warning that Lopez can't have any off moments against someone as smart as Stevenson. Jones thinks Stevenson is at his most dangerous when fighters lose their composure or get sloppy with their technique. The moment that happens, Stevenson starts picking them apart with precise shots and superior positioning. Jones isn't saying Lopez doesn't have the tools to win, but he's stressing that having talent and using it perfectly for 12 rounds are two very different things. Against a calculated fighter like Stevenson, there's no room for mental lapses. Jones is basically saying that once Stevenson starts building up points and confidence, it becomes nearly impossible to turn things around.
Stylistically, man, how does Shakur beat Teo and vice versa? Stylistically, how does Teo beat Shakur?
Stylistically, Teo got to go in and go for broke. He got to go gamble. He got to take some, get some, and that's his only way to win. If he stays outside of boxes, Shakur gonna pick him apart. Shakur's a polished boxer with some of the best feet in the game right now, and he's a defensive-minded fighter, which is very smart. It's hard to hit him. He makes you gamble to hit him, and he's going to be a tough one to deal with. But if Teofimo is willing to gamble to beat him, then Teofimo can definitely make it a really good fight.
Raleigh Romero takes a completely different approach by calling this an absolute toss-up. His reasoning is pretty straightforward. Both guys have already captured world titles and beaten serious competition. Romero doesn't see either fighter walking in with a significant advantage in terms of pure ability. What he does see are two contrasting approaches that could create fireworks depending on who gets their game plan working first. From Romero's angle, this fight comes down to who makes better adjustments in real time and who stays confident when things get tough. He's treating both fighters as equals, which means the little details during the actual fight become way more important than anything we can predict beforehand.
I think it's a great fight. You'll really see, because at the end of it, they're both Olympians. They're both multi-division world champions. Teo is an incredible fighter, and Shakur is an incredible fighter. Shakur has a really high boxing IQ and a very. Shakur coming out. I'm telling you, it's gonna be a good fight. I like to see it.
Gary Antoine Russell has his eyes on a very specific version of Teofimo Lopez. He keeps going back to what Lopez did against Lomachenko as the perfect example of what he's capable of. Russell thinks that when Lopez fully commits to his pressure game while staying mentally composed, he becomes a problem for anybody. In that mode, Lopez owns the middle of the ring, makes his opponents fight his fight, and doesn't give them space to get comfortable. Russell's convinced that if Lopez shows up with that same energy and mental focus, he can throw off Stevenson's timing and keep him from getting into any kind of defensive rhythm. He's not dismissing what Stevenson brings, but he's saying Lopez has already shown he can rise to the occasion when the lights are brightest.
How does it play out in the ring?
It's 50-50. You know, in order for you to participate in this sport, you got to have a high level of confidence. I feel like both of them has a high level of confidence, Teofimo Lopez and Shakur Stevenson, but styles make fights. Naturally, I think Teofimo Lopez is stronger than Shakur. Naturally, I think he has more athleticism than Shakur, and he got a good IQ on the sport itself. But Shakur, I feel like he's a more smarter fighter. He's a more technical fighter. You know, I'm not saying that he's a square or he's just a textbook fighter, but he's seasoned, he's poised. I feel like mentally he's more mature. Like, he don't go outside of the boundaries on taking risks. So a lot of times you'll see him fight somebody that could be stiff competition, and it'll wind up being a born fight to a degree. You know, that's why everybody was criticizing him for, oh, he's a born fighter. He's a careful fighter. And I feel like with Teofimo Lopez, he's going to be a careful fighter. Now, just because he's a careful fighter doesn't mean that he isn't punctual with how he do things. I think Shakur, he got a lot in his arsenal that he can use to make him be victorious, as well as Teofimo Lopez. You know what I mean? So it's a 50-50 fight, and it depends on what fighters show up the night of the fight. Right. You know, but if I had to give you my whole honest truth, if Teofimo Lopez show up.
Multiple experts keep coming back to the physical differences between these two. They're pointing out that Lopez probably has the edge in pure punching power, which could be the deciding factor in close exchanges or when they're fighting on the inside. Stevenson gets credit for being faster, especially with his feet and hand speed. This creates an interesting dynamic because each fighter's strength can potentially cancel out what the other does best. Power can slow down movement, but speed can make power irrelevant if you're not there to get hit. Experts think this turns the whole fight into a mental chess match instead of just a physical battle. Whoever figures out how to use their advantages effectively will control how the entire fight unfolds.
Great defensive fighter, very good offensive fighter. The difference between the two, for me, I think that Teofimo might be a little bit stronger of the two. But, you know, speed can sometimes nullify power.
Right. It depends on if you can use your speed to get you from round to round, as opposed to avoiding that.
Teddy Atlas is pushing back hard against all the criticism both Stevenson and Lopez have dealt with throughout their careers. He thinks people were way too quick to accuse them of cherry-picking opponents, but that argument doesn't make sense anymore. Atlas points out that both fighters are now taking the exact kinds of challenging fights that critics said they were avoiding, and that deserves recognition. While he admits some people worry the styles might not create fireworks, Atlas argues that entertainment comes in different forms. What this matchup guarantees is elite-level boxing and strategic thinking. Atlas was impressed with Stevenson's recent performances, especially how he mixed aggression with defense, controlled distance, was effective in close quarters, and capitalized on mistakes at every range. For Atlas, this represents pure boxing artistry, rather than just a show.
No, and Teofimo at certain spot, he's avoiding this guy, he's avoiding that guy. You can't take those shots at these two guys. Definitely can't now. They are stepping up, and they are taking fights that a lot of people are probably surprised they took. Now, a lot of people will say style-wise, Teddy, style-wise, is this going to be a great fight? I don't know if it will. I mean, style-wise, I could see you having a little reservations, whether or not these guys will make for dynamite. They will make, for electricity. I don't know if they will, but I tell you what they will make for. Two skillful fighters, two talented fighters, two fighters that are at a high skill level that will compete in the sweet science. I mean, Shakur showed aggression in his last fight against Zepeda, being elusive while being aggressive. You know, walking them down, fighting on the inside, you know, boxing well, still being able to counter, still being able to control space, but also be able to go into tight quarters and not be afraid to show that he's good on the inside too, that he can make you miss and make you pay outside and inside. Shakur showed that. That was great. That was great, and people applaud him. I applaud him. We were sitting there, ringside. I was sitting there actually with your sister, ringside, watching that fight. And it was a terrific performance. Shakur showing that dimension, showing that attitude, showing that competitiveness, showing that dog like people like to show or like to talk about, and they wanted to see in Shakur.
Timothy Bradley is making sure people don't sleep on what Lopez brings to this fight. He's emphasizing that Stevenson shouldn't expect an easy night, no matter what the technical breakdown says. Bradley sees Lopez as someone who fights with instinct and confidence, two things that can mess up even the most prepared opponents. He describes Lopez as a fighter who thinks for himself in there, someone who can make split-second decisions that change everything. Bradley thinks this unpredictability is what makes Lopez dangerous, because he doesn't just follow a script or wait for his corner's instructions. For Stevenson, this means staying alert and being ready to adapt throughout the fight. Bradley's basically saying that textbook fundamentals might not be enough if Lopez starts doing unexpected things.
Easy damn fight for Shakur Stevenson. Nope, it ain't gonna be an easy fight. Nope. After studying freaking Lopez yesterday, man, look, that athleticism that he got, that speed that he got, the boy is a what's the name I'm looking for? What can I say? He's autonomous. That's the word I'm looking for. He's an autonomous fighter. Okay? What does that mean, autonomous fighter, Tim? Shakur is too. Just like Floyd is. Just like Crawford is. Just like Inoue is. You know, young fighters want to get to that point in their career where they become autonomous fighters. Okay? Where you don't need no damn instructions. You don't need no guidance. You know how to figure it out. Your fundamentals are so damn sound that you got skills now built on top of those fundamentals. Now it's second nature for you. You know what I'm saying? You didn't see the same patterns and rhythms and styles and so on and so forth that it's second nature. It's nothing for you. These guys can operate without any damn instructions, without being told what to do. That's how great these dudes are. Or I should say good they are. They still got to prove they great, right? But, you know, look, the thing that surprised me about T.O. last night after watching him, man, is that his speed and quickness and how fast he's able to strike. Look, I'm going to tell you where he going. Because I watched a little bit of Shakur last night. He going to Shakur's body.
One analyst believes the Lopez versus Stevenson matchup is exactly what brings out Lopez's absolute best. The theory is that Lopez performs at different levels depending on his opposition, and elite fighters force him to reach his ceiling. Even though Lopez has tasted defeat before, those losses don't represent his limits as a fighter. This particular fight could showcase a version of Lopez we haven't seen yet. When it comes to Stevenson, his perfect record and steady improvement speak for themselves. Both fighters are hitting their physical primes at the same age, and their measurables are surprisingly similar. This creates a dangerous situation for both men, because everything gets tested, skills, adjustments, and mental toughness, all at the championship level.
Teofimo Lopez needs opponents like Shakur Stevenson because they are elite fighters. He needs that to bring out the very best in him. I just can't see how it's possible that whilst Teofimo, we've seen a ceiling with him in terms of he's been beaten by certain opponents, we know that he can lose in the ring. But I don't know if that's a genuine ceiling, because I think that his ceiling is actually one of the most changeable in boxing based on who's in front of him. And so actually, I think there's a very, very good chance we're going to see the best possible version of Teofimo Lopez in the ring against Shakur Stevenson. But we should talk about Shakur Stevenson before we get into the nuts and bolts of the fight, what it might look like, and why it is so risky for both men. Now, Shakur Stevenson is currently undefeated. He's 24-0 with 11 KOs. He turned pro back in 2017. He's the same age as Teofimo Lopez at 28 years old, both men in their athletic primes. He's 5'8". I mean, these are on paper heights, so potentially a little bit shorter. He could even be a bit taller than Teofimo Lopez. I really need to see them next to each other to make that assessment. No lifts in the shoes, all that stuff. But around the same size is the most important thing. The difference, though, with Shakur Stevenson is he's actually a 3-weight division world champion, and he started a division lower than Teofimo Lopez, meaning naturally it would appear that he's slightly the smaller man. Although that doesn't necessarily mean they're now not the same size. He could easily have filled out to be roughly the same size as Teofimo Lopez is on the night in the ring. Now, for me, I'm going to jump back to 2021 to first start talking about Shakur Stevenson, when he managed to get a win over Jamel Herring. Again, he'd had significant wins before this fight, but it was the first one where I really tuned into his career. Notable wins had already come against Joet Gonzalez, Jeremiah Nakathila, but no one that was really a household name. Maybe Joet Gonzalez. No giant names. Jamel Herring was the first one where I was like, I know who Jamel Herring is. He beat Carl Frampton. He beat Lamont Roach. This is a very, very decent operator. And what can I say? I mean, Shakur Stevenson just absolutely dominated him and TKO'd him in the 10th round of their fight. But this was a really, really landmark, standout performance from Shakur Stevenson. The talent was there for all to see. Everybody could tell this was a serious professional fighter.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned until next time.